Hey, Brandon here. This is my yearly State of the Sanderson. This is something I've been doing for, I think, 10 years now, where I post on my website saying all the stuff that I've been up to in the last year. So I'm going to read this to you. You can read the text on my website. We're going to do a YouTube version for you. It's the same thing, but I thought you might enjoy having it here as well. So this is the State of the Sanderson 2022. Introduction. Wow, what a year. I can remember writing this essay last year and being all giddy about the fact that I was hiding 4 secret novels from you all. I said, maybe next year I'll be able to explain to you all why my year was so strange. One big part of it was those novels. The other part is, well, something I can't quite talk about even still. That said, last year, I just started planning the Kickstarter campaign, and I was extremely curious how the reveal would go. It went well. I did not expect to come back to you this year having run the most successful Kickstarter campaign of all time, that's for sure. It was obviously the highlight of my year, though I suspect next year's highlight will be finally getting to see what you all think of the books. The other big mark this year, other than the aforementioned I can't talk about this yet, things that are still happening in Hollywood, for me, was finishing various series. I worked on the ending of Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarian series and the end of Era 2 of Mistborn, which both came out this year. And the ending of Skyward, which is scheduled for next fall. And I began the ending of the first arc of Stormlight, scheduled for the following fall. It's been an era of transitions for me. All of them good, all of them fulfilling, and several of them very big. My company grew sizably to match the demands I'm putting on them, most specifically editing, art directing, publicizing, and shipping 600,000 secret novels. The daunting part is, I think this probably isn't the biggest year we'll have, so stick around. And as always, thank you. Part 1. Secret Project Updates. Long, but important. Traditionally, the first big section of each State of the Sanderson focuses on my year and what I've written. I'm going to bump that down, however, and talk to you a little about the Kickstarter books and what you can expect. This is important information if you're interested in the Secret Project books at all, regardless of whether you back the Kickstarter or not. However, if you did back the Kickstarter, expect an update email in the next couple of days with more information and instructions to prepare for the year of Sanderson. Ebooks for backers. On January 1st, and every 3 months thereafter, you will get an important email from us. And it will be a link to your BackerKit account, where you can download your copies of the secret projects. These will be DRM-free copies in your choice of EPUB or PDF. We will also include some instructions on how to get these onto common e-readers like Kindle if you want to read that way. It's extremely important that your email address filed with BackerKit be up to date. If you aren't sure, look here. We'll try to link that in the comments for you guys. Ebooks for non-backers. If you didn't back the Kickstarter but want to read the books, and I hope you do, they'll be available starting the 10th or 11th of each month that the book ships to the backers. You'll need to wait just a little longer than them, as we want to be absolutely certain that everybody has their copies and all is working before we sell them to anyone else. But they should be available on all platforms you expect, at least in English. Audiobooks for backers. If you chose a backer tier in the Kickstarter that included audiobooks, you're going to have 3 ways to get your books. This is probably the most important section here, as looking at the numbers, the majority of my fans prefer audiobooks these days, so pay attention. First, audio files. You will be able to click that same link in your email to download the raw files in MP3 and M4B format to put on your device and listen as you want. We'll include instructions on how to download and use a common audiobook player. This is because these books won't be on Audible. We're selling them ourselves. Indeed, one of the reasons I did this Kickstarter like I did is because I worry about Audible's dominance in the market. For that same reason, I'm suggesting that instead of just listening to the raw files, you look at one of our partners listed next. Second, Spotify. Yes, Spotify does audiobooks now. They launched this in the US, UK, and Australia earlier this year. And so I'm extremely excited to say that I've reached a deal with Spotify to distribute the secret projects, free for every backer who pledged a tier that included the audiobook. Again, clicking the link in the email mentioned above will take you to a page that lists all of your available downloads as well as a unique code for Spotify. You'll be able to use this code to unlock a free copy of the first secret project and listen on Spotify. And you'll get a new code every 3 months for the next ones. You need a Spotify account to do this. They are free, which is why we're also giving you the option for the raw files. Using Spotify or an ex-partner isn't required. However, I want to encourage it. I'll explain more below, but I'm hoping that bolstering real competition to Audible will help all authors going forward. For the same reason, we have our third partner. Third, Speechify. Speechify, no relation to Spotify, is a really cool service that does text-to-speech for people. It started as a tool to help those with dyslexia, something that is very important to me as the father of a dyslexic son. He uses his Speechify tablet daily to help him with his disability. Speechify's big thing is letting you see the text as you listen to help both with reading comprehension and disability, and that they can turn any ebook or PDF into a high-quality audiobook for you. I've really enjoyed working with this company, and they want to move into a larger market. They already have a sizable number of subscribers, but want to draw attention to their service by starting to offer audiobooks and ebooks for sale. They have agreed to give each applicable backer an audiobook for each secret project as well. This makes it easier for you to access the books on your phones, so you don't need to figure out how to download a massive audio file and lose your place in the book. Your unique code for Speechify will be available on the same BackerKit page where you'll find your available downloads. To get ready, just download Speechify by visiting https://speechify.com/Sanderson. Signing up is free. We'll have that link in the description also. And you'll get a new code every 3 months for the next ones. Though keep in mind that Speechify's audiobook store currently only works on iOS for iPhones, with iPad support coming in January. Their other products on Android Web and Google Chrome are due to add audiobooks and ebooks later in 2023. So, feel free to pick your way to get the book, or download all 3 versions and see which experience is best for you. The only thing I ask is that, on your honor, you don't give away or sell the codes. I'm giving you 3 options as a way to make this as convenient for you as possible, which is also the reason the files for me have no DRM. As always, I don't mind, I even encourage it, if you share my books with family and friends. But in this case, I would greatly prefer if you didn't give away the extra codes you get. I'll dive deep into more of why I picked these partners in the next section, which I encourage you to read even if you're a backer. Audiobooks for non-backers. On the 10th or 11th of each month a book goes to backers, we will put up the audiobooks for sale. They will be on several services, but I recommend the 2 I mentioned above, Spotify and Speechify. The books will not be on Audible for the foreseeable future. This is a dangerous move on my part. I don't want to make an enemy of Amazon, who owns Audible. I like the people at Audible and have had several meetings with them this year. But Audible has grown to a place where it's very bad for authors. It's a good company doing bad things. Again, this is dangerous to say, and I don't want to make anyone feel guilty. I have an Audible account and a subscription. It's how my dyslexic son reads most of the books he reads. Audible did some great things for books, notably spearheading the audio revolution, which brought audiobooks down to a reasonable price. I like that part a lot. However, they treat authors very poorly, particularly indie authors. The deal Audible demands of them is unconscionable, and I'm hoping that providing market forces and talking about the issue with a megaphone will encourage change in a positive direction. If you want details, the current industry standard for a digital product is to pay the creator 70% on a sale. That's what Steam pays your average creator for a game sale. It's what Amazon pays on ebooks. It's what Apple pays for apps downloads. And they're getting heat for taking as much as they are, rightly so. Audible pays 40%, almost half. For a frame of reference, most brick and mortar stores take around 50% on a retail product. Audible pays indie authors less than a bookstore does when a bookstore has storefronts, sales staff, and warehousing to deal with. I knew things were bad, which is why I wanted to explore other options with the Kickstarter, but I didn't know how bad. Indeed, if indie authors don't agree to be exclusive on Audible, they get dropped from 40% to a measly 25%. Buying an audiobook through Audible instead of from another site literally costs the author money. Again, I like the people at Audible. I like a lot about Audible. I don't want to go to war, but I have to call them out. This is shameful behavior. I'll bet you every person there will say they are a book lover, and yet they are squeezing indie authors to death. I had several meetings with them, and I felt like I could see their embarrassment in their responses and actions. Though, that's just me reading into it, not a reference to anything they said. Here's the problem. I'm sorry to go on at length, but I'm passionate about this. There are no true competitors to Audible. Sure, there are other companies that can buy your book, but they all just list on Audible and then take a percentage on top of what Audible is taking. Apple, their books come in large part from Audible. Recorded Books, they are an awesome company whom I love, but their biggest market is Audible. Macmillan, my publisher, they just turn around and put the books on Audible. I had a huge problem finding anyone who, if I sold the secret projects to them, wouldn't just put them on Audible. And while I can't tell you the details, all of their deals were around the same low rates that Audible is paying indie authors. Audible runs this town, and they set the rates for everyone, everywhere. I had one seller who really wanted to work with me, who will remain unnamed, who is consistently only able to pay authors 10% on a sale for a digital product. It's wild. I found 2 companies only, in all the deals I investigated, who are willing to take on Audible: Spotify and Speechify. My Spotify deal is unfortunately locked behind an NDA, as is common with these kinds of deals. All I can say is that they treated me well, and I'm happy. Here's where the gold star goes to Speechify. Let me tell you, they came to me and said, full of enthusiasm for the project, that they give me 100%. I almost took it. But then I asked the owner, who is a great guy, if this was a deal he could give to other authors, or if it was the deal only Brandon Sanderson could get. He considered that, then said he'd be willing to do industry standard, 70%, for any author who lists their books directly on Speechify a la carte. So I told him I wanted that deal, if he agreed to let me make the terms of our deal public. I've made enough on this Kickstarter, I don't need to squeeze people for every penny. But what I do want to do is find a way to provide options for authors. I think that by agreeing to these 2 deals, I'm doing that. We have an open offer from Speechify, and we have Spotify trying very hard to break Audible's near monopoly. I hope this will rejuvenate the industry, because I do like Audible. I worry that they'll stagnate, strangling their creators, and end up burning away because of it. Real competition is good for everyone, including the companies themselves. Lack of it leads to a slow corporate death. So, I'm not putting these books on Audible. Not for a year at least, maybe longer. I need to be able to make a statement, and I realize this makes it inconvenient for many of you. I'm sorry, I really am. And I know it's going to cost me a ton of sales, because right now, people tend to just buy on the platform they're comfortable with. The Lost Metal pre-orders were 75% audio, almost all through Audible. I know many of my fans, probably hundreds of thousands of them, simply won't buy the books because it's super inconvenient to go somewhere else. Indeed, Audible locks you into that mentality by making you sign up for a subscription to get proper prices on audiobooks, which then makes you even more hesitant to shop around. But please take the time to try these books somewhere else. I've priced them at $15, the current price of a monthly subscription to Audible at their most common price point. You can get these books with no subscription and no credit. Though you do have to buy on Speechify or Spotify's websites, and not through their apps, because of monopolistic practices by certain providers, something I'm not qualified to say much about currently, besides this rant is already too long. Each book you buy somewhere else will help break open this field. It will lead to lower prices, fewer subscription models, and better pay for authors. Plus, these partners I've gone to really deserve the support for being willing to try to change things. Whew. Okay, rant over. Let's talk about print books. Print books for backers. The first book is being bound right now. We had a scare last month when the material for the covers didn't arrive because of shipping delays, but Bill, our print book rep, worked some miracles and got things ushered along. Then we were hit with another setback. As we speak, a giant snowstorm is descending on our printer's location, and that's going to delay the books even further, as we will not receive them until after the new year. All of this will cause some slight delays on the first book, as we will need to package and ship the first box throughout the entire month. Some might stretch into February. We promise to do what we can to prevent that, but it might not be in our control. But fortunately, everyone will have their ebooks and audiobooks right on the first day. Print books for non-backers. These will take longer than the ebook/audiobooks to come out. You see, we knew supply issues could be a problem. It's the story of all marketplaces these days. So we wanted to be extra careful not to have these books on sale too soon, lest we risk people being able to buy the books in stores before backers got their copies, which would be wrong. However, in publishing, you have to pick dates like this super early for, again, supply reasons. So we picked a 3-month delay. When the second secret project goes out to backers, the first secret project will appear in bookstores in the English language countries. At this point, you'll have 2 options. My publishers, Tor and Gallant, will be releasing their own editions, in line with the other editions of my books you might have bought from them. Our Dragonsteel editions will remain the premium edition of these books, which we will sell ourselves. Both the books and the swag boxes will be available for pre-order on dragonsteelbooks.com on the 10th of each month, at the same time as the audiobooks and ebooks are released to the public. But they will not ship until after we have completed backer shipments. The individual premium hardcovers, with the extra art, special hardcover treatments, etc., will be $55, and all extra boxes will be $65. I'm sorry for the long delay, but it was what felt right when we put these deals in place. Whew. That was a long bit of information. Sorry to go on at length, but there was a lot to get through. Part 2, my year. Unlike the last section, which was long, this one will be pretty short. I usually go month by month, but I think we can handle this more simply. This was a year of revisions for me. I did multiple revisions of The Lost Metal, one revision of Satanic, and a revision or two on each secret project. That's what I get for spending so much time writing the previous years, ignoring revisions. It's not done yet, unfortunately. I still want to tweak Secret Project 4 some more, and Defiant needs at least one more big solid revision. I hope to do both of those in January. Every month I wasn't revising, I worked on Stormlight 5. That was March, during the Kickstarter, which was a little distracting, August, November, and December. Only a third of the year working on the novel, though next year I should have the majority of my time free to focus on it. Part 3, updates on primary projects. Stormlight Archive. To kick this off, let's give a big announcement. I've settled on a title, and I think it will be final. No absolute promises, as these things can change during development. So, for now, Stormlight 5 is named Knights of Wind and Truth. Some of you who have been following along might notice this doesn't quite fit the format we wanted to make all 5 books have some symmetry to their titles. It has an extraneous "and" in it. But I feel this is close enough to nod to that kind of inside Easter egg, while also functioning as a title the way I want. I did a moderate amount of work on Book 5, which is somewhere around 20 to 25% done at this point, putting me in a fairly good spot for finishing it next year, which will be required if we want it out in 2024. So watch the percentage bar go up on my website or check my weekly updates here on YouTube, and I'll keep you in the loop. If you missed my first big blog post update, you can find it on Reddit, with the video edition here on YouTube. There's also an announcement I want to make here. We talked about doing the Words of Radiance Leatherbound crowdfunding campaign in March, and I even announced it at Dragonsteel 2022. After announcing it, though, I started to rethink that date. Thing is, we currently have 2 outstanding Kickstarters, and while we're more than ready for Words, I've been signing the pages all year, I don't feel comfortable asking you all for more money right now. I want to have a chance to fulfill on the Year of Sanderson for a while before I do another book Kickstarter. Beyond that, I want to give Brotherwise time to start fulfilling, at least a little, on their Minis Kickstarter, which they hope to do mid-year, though that could change as the year proceeds. So the plan now is to move the Words of Radiance crowdfunding campaign to fall 2023. I'm sorry if some of you were excited about this, but I believe sincerely in making good on promises before making new ones. This decision feels very right to me. Note that it won't influence when the books arrive from the bindery, so even though the crowdfunding campaign will be 6 months later, our fulfillment on these leatherbounds will be around the same time as it would have been anyway. Dates I don't quite have yet, likely sometime late 2023, early 2024. Skyward/Cytoverse. I continue to have a lot of fun with this series. Defiant is done, out for beta reads right now, and I have final editorial feedback from Krista, my editor, in hand. The plan is to do revisions on this book starting in January, which is, not by coincidence, also when Jancy and I will sit down and really outline the sequel series. Defiant will be our 2023 fall book launch, coinciding with Dragonsteel 2023. So, I'll see you all there. Mistborn. Mistborn Era 2 is concluded. Huzzah! It feels extremely good to be able to say that. Stormlight is my main focus right now, but Era 3 of Mistborn will take over as my primary focus once the first arc of Stormlight is finished. So, expect no Mistborn updates next year, but then the year after they will start again as I really look hard at Era 3. Part 4, updates on secondary projects. Alcatraz. At long last, after years of promising it, Book 6, Bastille vs. the Evil Librarians, came out earlier this year. Jancy did a wonderful job, and I'm delighted that we were able to properly conclude this smaller yet beloved series. Alcatraz now joins Legion in that category, and only the Arithmetist remains. I almost don't want to get back to that one now, if only for the memes. Anyway, if you've been waiting on this series, it's done. This concludes updates on the series, and I'll move it off the state of the Sanderson going forward. Dark One. Mainframe Audio will be releasing a collaboration I did with Dan Wells in the Dark One universe sometime very soon. It's called Dark One Forgotten. And I'm thrilled with how it turned out. Rather than writing that one as a novel, it's presented as a fake true crime podcast that slowly uncovers a supernatural mystery. Because of that, it's an audio exclusive, and you can pre-order it here. Link in the description. In addition, work proceeds on the second graphic novel and the actual novel, which isn't a novelization of the graphic novel, but instead is working from my original outline and spinning off into exciting new directions. Anyway, lots of fun things are happening with this project, which I hope you'll enjoy. Other Cosmere novels. The Year of Sanderson includes 3 books in the Cosmere on new planets with new magic systems. Well, newish in one case. Each of them are self-contained. Well, self-contained-ish in one case. But each book has some reference to characters and or worlds you already know. I really hope you enjoy this surprise experience next year, and I really hope you don't get overwhelmed. I promise not to do anything like this again in the near future, but at least all 4 books, plus Defiant, which is also released next year, when added together, are not that much longer than a single Stormlight novel. So it's actually just a quite ordinary amount of Sanderson, if you think about it, only spread out across multiple titles. It's also worth mentioning that Tor is repackaged and will be re-releasing the original Mistborn trilogy with all new covers. They look great, and I'm grateful to everyone who worked so hard on the new editions. Elantris, Warbreaker, Arithmetist. All will have to wait until Stormlight 5 is finished, I'm afraid. Stormlight's my main focus now. The Reckoners. I am letting a friend of mine, Stephen Bowles, play around in the Reckoners world. He has one book out titled Lux, which he wrote with heavy input from me on the outline and revision. It's only in audio right now. No other updates currently, though we're considering more books in the series. Weigh in on how you'd like me to proceed. Did you enjoy Lux, and do you want more? Part 5. Updates on minor projects. Songs of the Dead. In limbo, pun intended, for the time being. The Original. We keep meaning to put out an ebook of this SF novella that I wrote with Mary Robinette Cole, but we've been swamped. Should come out before too long. White Sand. Isaac did a ton of work getting the graphic novel omnibus ready, and I'm excited for you all to read it, and I'm very sorry it's taking so long. Latest word is the paperback editions have been printed and should be shipping soon. According to the publisher, the hardcovers and slipcase editions are still in production. I am more and more likely to put out a heavily revised prose version of the novel, as it is Cosmere canon and quite relevant. Legion. There will be a new edition of Legion, which is going to say mystery on the spine instead of science fiction or fantasy. I think it might have been published that way to begin with if I hadn't written it. I'm not known as a thriller writer, so this book wasn't marketed as such despite it being very much a thriller. If you or someone you know also reads in the mystery thriller space, please take a look at it. It might be a good way to introduce my books to your friends who don't read fantasy. Unnamed Dan and Isaac Cosmere novels. I'm working closely with Dan and Isaac on some new Cosmere novels, which we'll be producing in-house at Dragonsteel, so I'm adding this category to the list. But there probably won't be much to announce for these for quite a while yet. Things I'm tinkering on. Mostly in the back of my head, here are future novels that you might be able to expect in the Cosmere. Night Brigade, a Threnody novel. Dragonsteel, the Hoid backstory series. Silence Divine, novel set on Ashen. Aether World series. Mythos series. New Planet, though this is an off-world nickname right now. We'll see if when any of these appear. Part 6. Hollywood and video game news. I know a good number of you probably jumped straight to this section if you're reading the prose version. Thing is, if I had announcements on this front, I absolutely would have made them at Dragonsteel 2022. So I regret to tell you that I can't say much about Hollywood projects right now. Basically, we want our proverbial ducks in a row before we make any announcements. Hollywood things are moving and moving well for the first time in my life. I'm hoping that by this time next year, you'll know what has been going on behind the scenes. But making things in Hollywood is challenging and can take a lot of time, particularly if you want to do it right. So it's possible we still might not have a Hollywood announcement next year either. We'll see. I appreciate your patience. I'll tell you about movie stuff when I can. In the meantime, Soul Burner, a long-standing project on these lists, did eventually get made into a video game named Moonbreaker. Dan has been doing audio dramas for it based on my outlines and characters, which you can listen to. Link in the description. It was a wonderful experience working on this game, though I will note that I wasn't thrilled by the monetization methods they picked upon launch. I got a little blindsided by this, I admit. They've listened to feedback, however, and improved this aspect of the game a lot, and continue to improve it with every patch. It's still in early access, but give it a look if you're interested. I find it quite fun myself. Part 7. News from my company. This year, this is the year that Dragonsteel, my company, grew up, so to speak. We about doubled in size, with a ton of new people on the staff working on fulfillment. But we also have a number of new people helping in other departments. So I'm going to give each department a spot to update you on things here. I hope it will also give you more chances to get to know my team, because the people on this list are, for the most part, my friends and collaborators going back decades now. We'll start off with some words from my wife and co-president Emily. After that, we'll jump into the departments in no particular order. And I'm going to let Emily read her part. Then I'm going to read for the other departments because they're all getting ready to leave for holiday vacation, and I want them to be able to do so.
Hello, Emily Sanderson here. Brandon and I are co-presidents of Dragonsteel, and he is the CEO, while I serve as the COO. I'm also Brandon's wife and biggest fan. In 2007, when Brandon and I signed the paperwork to create our LLC, I listed my official title as Queen, and he was president. Since that time, we have grown from 9 employees in 2014 to 15 employees in 2020 to 22 employees in 2021, and now at the end of 2022, we have around 60. Though I had the audacity to claim it, I've never been completely comfortable with the title of Queen. Such a position seems to befit a person who likes to stand out in front and boss others around. I'm much more likely to hang out on the edges and make snarky comments to those who are close enough to hear. The growth of Dragonsteel this year has compelled me to take a larger and more public role in the company. Sometimes, the added responsibility makes me feel like I'm lugging around a 100-pound barbell. Hiring, onboarding, training, benefits, policies and procedures, and facilities are some of the plates I've loaded on this year. Thankfully, I don't have to lift this load by myself. We have a team of amazing people at Dragonsteel, and working with them is one of the best parts of my job. On the bulletin board above my desk is a quote from The Way of Kings that says, "Strength does not make one capable of rule, it makes one capable of service." As Dragonsteel continues to grow this next year, I want to use the strength I'm gaining from these experiences to be of service to my family, my employees, and to all of you. That's the kind of queen I aspire to be.
Editorial Department, VP Peter Ahlstrom. This is the year when Dragonsteel's editorial department moved beyond being a family affair. This is talking as Peter, started as Brandon's assistant in May of 2009, and my wife Karen joined to help answer fan mail off and on in August of that year. Over the years, my duties got more and more focused on just the editorial side of things, and Karen moved to continuity director in 2013. For a long time, that was the entire department. My sister Betsy joined as editorial assistant in 2020, but this year we'd started branching out. Christy Gilbert, who has been our InDesign master for many a Leatherbound, started a 1-year contract in June as our production editor for Secret Projects and other titles, and she's been marvelous. I hope she'll be able to stay. But it soon became clear that we still needed some help. After listing a job for an editor and receiving over 90 applicants, I hired Jenny Stevens, who started right after the convention in November. She's working on the tweaks for the Words of Radiance Leatherbound and is doing a great job. We also did a smaller search for an editorial assistant intern, settling on Emily Shaw Higham, who has been fantastic, and that also could turn into a permanent position. Even with all this new help, I've been swamped, so over the next year, there will be a lot of figuring out of the division of labor to keep things running smoothly. It's an exciting time. Merchandise and Events, VP Kara Stewart. The year 2022 catapulted our merchandising and events department to incredible levels of excitement, growth, improvement, and fun. Our first big project was the surprise 4 Secret Novels by Brandon Sanderson Kickstarter campaign held in March. The fandom came together and absolutely shattered records, ending with our campaign at double the next most funded project ever launched on Kickstarter. We also attended FanX Salt Lake in September, New York Comic Con in October, and our own Dragonsteel convention in November. We love seeing and interacting with everyone. Held this year in conjunction with the release of The Lost Metal, we tripled our attendance for Dragonsteel 2022, nearly doubled our exhibitor hall vendors, and had one fantastic time. Between our Kickstarter campaign, our 3 book bundles, Skyward Flight, The Collection, Bastille vs. the Evil Librarians, and The Lost Metal, and our convention, our merchandise team has worked on more than 70 new products this year. Many of these have already been released or will be coming in 2023. We are excited to be expanding our product offerings and can't wait to see everyone's reactions to the awesome products we have for next year. Preparation for 2023 is well underway. First, we have tripled our employee headcount and are ramping up packaging rewards and prepping for fulfillment of our Secret Novels campaign. Second, our events team has begun planning Dragonsteel 2023, so watch for announcements on hotel discounts and open registration. We are determined to make every year even more awesome for our fans, and we hope you'll join us on November 20th and 21st, 2023. Third, our merchandise team will be working on the Defiant book bundle, new releases for the store, including upcoming pre-orders for those who missed the Kickstarter, merch for Dragonsteel 2023, and the upcoming Words of Radiance campaign. Keep an eye on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, for updates on all these projects. And finally, with hundreds of pallets and products and shipping material received already, and hundreds more to come, we have spent much of the past year looking for a larger warehouse space. We are happy to say we found a warehouse that is 10 times the size of our current one, and we can't wait to move in next year after the improvements are finished. The enthusiasm for next year is abundant here at our warehouse, and we can't wait for you to see the results of all our hard work. Operations, VP Matt Hatch. Hello everyone, MATT here. I'm the new guy at Dragonsteel, or I was almost a year ago. And since I came on to head operations and human resources, Dragonsteel has doubled in size. Why so much sudden growth? The success of the Secret Project's Kickstarter, of course. That's you, the fans, who have been inspired by Brandon's words. But I've also learned it's also everyone here who won't, stop thinking about how many fun and interesting ways they can bring new experiences to your journey. Thankfully, it's my job and that of my special ops team, including my boss Emily Sanderson, Jane Horn, Emma Tan-Stoker, Kathy Sanderson, Becky Wilson, McKenna Salone, and Hazel Cummings, and you too, Lex, to help make Dragonsteel an awesome place to work. In other words, meetings. Lots and lots of awesome meetings. This year, thanks to how Dragonsteel has grown, I've also had the unique pleasure of hearing the personal stories that inspired some of you to apply to work here. Those stories, knowing that Dragonsteel has made such a difference in your lives, inspire us in all of our work on a daily basis. So where do we go from here? We have a long journey ahead. Onward towards awesome. Is there a city named Awesome in the Cosmere? There should be. I'm going to have to look that up. Publicity and marketing. VP Adam Horn. Hello, everyone. It's been an exciting year for the marketing and publicity team here at Dragonsteel, and we have some awesome stuff planned for the year of Sanderson in 2023, too. I don't want to spoil anything we have planned, as we want it to be a surprise. Go figure, we'd want to do that to you. But one thing I want to mention is a book club read-along series we're planning for each of the Secret Projects. Now, we want to make sure everyone has a chance to read the book before we start this series, so you can expect the first series to start in February. Just like many of our other departments, we've grown considerably. Though, considering I've been in a department of one for so long, even getting 2 people doubled the department. But over the last year, I've been able to bring on 3 incredible talents. You've probably heard their names on live streams, the podcast, or on social media, but in case you haven't, here they are. Jeremy Palmer joined us as our marketing director in January of 2022, and his help has been invaluable as he joined just in time for the Secret Project's Kickstarter, and we've kept him crazy busy since. Octavia Escamilla is our social media coordinator and is responsible for all the awesome content you're getting on Brandon and Dragonsteel's social media channels. She's been with us several months now and has really driven us to expand our reach. If you're on TikTok, you can specifically thank her for spearheading that stretch. Taylor Hatch started working freelance for us in March of 2022, doing video editing work. You've probably seen an uptick in the quality of our content on YouTube, and that's all because of Taylor's hard work. We have some exciting changes we're hoping to make in the next year, and we can't wait to show you. Narrative, VP Dan Wells. Hi everyone, I'm excited to be on the team and bubbling over with joy at the prospect of writing a bunch of awesome Cosmere stories for you. The first Wells/Sanderson project, as Brandon mentioned earlier, is Dark One Forgotten, an audio series that you should be getting very soon. It's a prequel of sorts to the Dark One novel, and we chose to do it in audio because it's presented as a faux true crime podcast. Instead of reading about an amateur investigator researching a mysterious disappearance, you get to listen to her record a podcast about her investigation. It's a lot of fun, and I think you're going to love it. I suppose that technically, though, the real first Wells-Sanderson stories are the audio dramas for the video game Moonbreaker. This is a slightly different case, because I'm contracting directly with Unknown Worlds rather than working through Dragonsteel, but the end result is the same. Brandon did the world building, I'm writing the stories, and we're working together on edits and revisions. The game is in early access and still in flux, but the characters that Unknown Worlds has created are incredible, and I'm loving the process of bringing them to life. I just turned in episode 5, and I'm starting on 6. There are many more in the pipeline. Definitely check it out. There are many other Dragonsteel projects I'm working on, but most of them are still secret. What I can tell you now is that I am deep in the third draft of Dark One, and Brandon and I have been workshopping it heavily. We're polishing the story and the characters, we're expanding the scope a little, and I'm hoping to have the book finished early next year. It'll still be a while before most of you could read it, but trust me, it'll be worth the wait. As for my Cosmere novels, we're already working on the first one, but it's mostly just brainstorming at this point. We've found a corner of the Cosmere, and one of the fantasy market in general, that's just begging for a series, and we're going to take our time to do it right. Creative Development, Isaac Stewart. The creative development team has been Ben McSweeney and I for the last few years, but we recently added Rachel Buchanan to assist with Brandon's BYU class, help me with my communications with freelance artists, working on facilitating some legal things, and in general just being helpful and awesome. She recently signed a traditional deal for a book that will be releasing in 2024, so keep an eye out for that. Haley Lazo has been working with us on the books since Tor's release of the Alcatraz series. In the last year or so, she joined Creative Development Team and has been creating lots of cool things that we'll get to reveal soon. At the end of the summer, Jennifer Neal joined us to help keep all the art assets organized, but she also does so much more. I've been incredibly impressed with and grateful for each of them. The Creative Development Team has been hard at work with editorial in putting together the Secret Project books and shepherding them through to the printer. Like Brandon said, there have been supply chain delays, which we anticipated, but even then, there are things that you can't entirely plan for. Our printing rep, Bill, has been working miracles to get us these books as quickly as possible. And we're incredibly grateful to him and the awesome people working hard at the printer and bindery. Additionally, Creative has worked with production team to create cool things for next year's Year of Sanderson boxes. It's a big team effort here to fulfill on March's Kickstarter, with all the departments involved, and we can't wait for you to see some of the awesome things that are coming down the pipeline. This year, we put together new art, broadsheets, and maps for The Lost Metal, as well as worked on the art and designs for the first two Wax and Wayne leatherbound books, prepping commissions for the upcoming Words of Radiance leatherbound, and much more. Thanks to all of you who have expressed how much you like the art. That's not just the creative team behind it, but also the wonderful artists who work with us throughout the year. One of the highlights this year, and a bit of last, was getting to work with Brandon and Brotherwise on defining the look of the characters for the Stormlight Archive miniatures. From the beginning, we saw an opportunity not only to make cool miniatures, but also make a body of artwork that can serve as a visual basis for what we do visually with this series for a long time. I look forward to continuing to work with Brandon, Ben McSweeney, and Brotherwise on fleshing out Rashar. Cool things are in store. On a more personal note, 2022 marks the first time my name appears on the cover of a fantasy book, unless you count Monsters Don't Wear Underpants. Yes, the White Sand graphic novel omnibus released in Spain in May and Germany in June of this year. Please note the German version is split into 3 parts. Other languages will follow. We can't wait for the English version of the omnibus to be out soon. We all worked quite hard to make this the quintessential White Sand graphic novel experience, updating text and dialogue to be more in line with the rest of the Cosmere. There are 38 new pages at the beginning with art by Nebeste Zitro, revised text and art throughout, a new map by Zhuang Guo, a glossary, and 14 Ars Arcanum pages with art by Ben McSweeney. We think you're really going to enjoy experiencing the complete package. I'm sure I've forgotten something. It's been such a whirlwind this year. As one last tidbit, Brandon's mentioned a few times that I'm working on a fantasy novel that tells the story of some of the characters we've seen in the Mistborn Era 2 broadsheets. I finished the first draft in September and am actively working on revising it. Time will tell if it's any good, but it's been a blast to write. With any luck, I hope to be able to share it, or some version of it, with you all someday. Part 8, projected schedule. January 2023, Secret Project 1, Kickstarter, ebook, audio release. Dark One Forgotten, audio. April 2023, Secret Project 1, print release. April 2023, Secret Project 2, Kickstarter, ebook, audio release. July 2023, Secret Project 2, print release. July 2023, Secret Project 3, Kickstarter, ebook, audio release. October 2023, Secret Project 3, print release. October 2023, Secret Project 4, Kickstarter, ebook, audio release. November 2023, Defiant and Dragonsteel 2023. January 2024, Secret Project 4, print release. November 2024, Stormlight 5 and Dragonsteel 2024. To be determined, Jancy/Brandon Skyward's sequel series books. To be determined, Dark One, print release. Part 9, updates from non-English language publishers. My books are coming out in different languages all over the world. This is not a complete list, notably Spain and Portugal are missing, but these are the publishers who asked to be included. Livre de Poche, France. In 2022, Livre de Poche published Danchard, Cytonic, and Six of the Dusk in French. In 2023, they will publish the French editions of Rhythm of War, Skyward Flight, and all 4 secret projects simultaneously with the US releases. So please try to give them some love. Pieper, Germany. In 2023, Pieper will publish a German edition of The Lost Metal in June and Secret Project 1 in the fall. They are also re-releasing The Alley of Law and all the Mistborn ebooks. Heine, Germany. In 2022, Heine published German editions of Warbreaker, the original, and Danchard. They will release Secret Project number 4 in January 2024. Domer Knar, Germany. Domer Knar published the German edition of Starsight in 2022 and will publish a German Cytonic in 2023. Mondadori, Italy. In 2022, Mondadori published an Italian hardcover of The Hero of Ages. In 2023, they will publish Italian paperbacks of The Alley of Law, The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, The Hero of Ages, and Shadows of Self. They will publish The Bands of Mourning and The Lost Metal in 2024. Trauma, Brazil. In 2022, Trauma published a Brazilian edition of The Way of Kings. In 2023, they will publish Brazilian editions of Secret Project number 1 and Words of Radiance. Faro, Brazil. Faro will publish a Brazilian edition of the first volume of Dark One graphic novel in February of 2023. Mipil, Serbia. Mipil will publish Serbian editions of the Secret Projects in 2023. Cayenne, Egypt/Arab Republic. In 2023, Cayenne will publish Arabic editions of Secret Projects 1 and 2, the First Legion book, and Mistborn. Part 10, Conclusion. What a year! I've been holding back these secret projects for so long, I'm practically bursting with excitement for you all to read them. So, this next year will be an even wilder ride, particularly if the stars align and I can start making some bigger adaptation announcements. As always, thank you for your enthusiasm. I'd probably still be writing books if I had never made it as a writer, but I can't imagine them being as good. Your energy, excitement, and love for all this propels me. I wish the best to you and yours. And if you haven't been hanging out with me on my monthly live streams, stop by and say hello. Brandon Sanderson and Company, December 2022.